Okay, I have a capital presentation on both the sewer and the water. I'll try to keep this relatively quick, but I thought you might appreciate, as Councilman Ostash mentioned, that knowing kind of where some of this money has been spent and where it's going to be spent. So with sewer, recently completed, primary settling tank 1 repairs. You can see the condition of the bottom of the tank, the kind of damage that was going on. And on the right, you can see the processes they were taking care of that, those issues and repairing. Oh, let me back up real quick. And that was about $1 million project. And in this picture, you can see after pretty much finished the project, what it looked like and what kind of result we had there. We also had purchased a couple of pad mount generators at a cost of about $1 million total for the 14th Street CSO and Weiss Street CSO for dual power source. One thing I can say real quickly here is that consumers, when more recently in the last few years, if you have entities like our CSOs and our pump stations and that, you're supposed to have dual power sources so that you have extra ability to provide power. But consumers started charging a lot of money for a second line feed to our stations. So what we've done is we found it's actually cheaper to put in these generators than it is to pay the fee for a second line feed from consumers. And then the other thing we found too is consumers has told us that they can still provide additional power to us if needed, but they don't want to have that second line feed necessarily. So anyway, that's partly why we do that. So that's some of the work we've done. And then here's another one that we recently completed in the amount of about $2.7 million. We replaced some 70s vintage outdoor switch gear, some 50s raw sewage pump motor starter panels, and a power substation number 1. It also included some wiring and updated SCADA for remote electric monitoring. But anyway, these things don't last forever. We have to update them as we're able. So that was also completed. So here are some projects that we anticipate to complete by June 30. Primary settling tank 4, similar to number 1. We have to do some influent channel repairs that we're working on currently. They didn't get done before the season, so we're hoping to get them done this spring. But it's about $100,000 that you approved for that project that we're currently working on. Projects in design and planning. CSOs and RTBs are the same thing. CSO is combined sewer overflow. RTB is retention treatment basin. Just a different way of saying the same thing. We're also looking at the second wastewater treatment plant river crossing. The original was placed in this is new projects. The original was placed in 1947 at a, we're actually thinking that the new one, I don't know what the cost was in 47, but the new one would be probably $20 to $25 million. And that's one of the ones that we're going for SRF funding for, because we know that that's a lot of money and we want to try to keep the impact to the customers down. So we're working on that. We do have an intent to apply submitted for Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund. And the other one you've already seen when we talked about ARPA, but the Hancock CSO and RTB, same thing. Due to the deteriorating concrete, you allocated about $3 million from the city ARPA funds to do the parking structure, but we still need about $5 million to do the basin itself the repairs to the basin itself. So, and it's actually a 2-phased approach, as you see phase 1. So here are some of the pictures of the deterioration. You did see these before, but I thought I'd show them again. That's happening. That is within the basin that you're seeing there. A lot of that is from hydrogen sulfide gas in the basin itself and deterioration of the concrete from the gas. So the second phase is estimated that it would be necessary in about 15 to 20 years after phase 1. So we got a little bit of time to do the second phase, but that will be needed at some point. There's another project we're looking at doing is the 14th Street clean out and concrete lining. You can see all the brush and everything that's grown into that ditch, and it needs to be addressed. So that's about a $300,000 project there. Another $500,000 for chlorine feed system improvements this is at the CSOs. So now projects that were in the design and planning stage for, those were all projects that we were hoping to get done. Failing concrete structure, as you saw, that's the same picture from before, but it's pretty consistent with what some of the concrete failure we're seeing. We're planning for about $1.5 million to repair those kinds of problems. We're looking at what we're going to do with disinfection, partly because of the cost of the chlorine that we just brought up, how expensive the chlorine is getting. We're starting to look at other possible processes for disinfection that would be less expensive and more cost-effective for us all. This is actually a ferric chloride tank that you're seeing there. Rough estimate to repair it is about $200,000. It's nearing the end of its life and it's leaking, so we need to remove it and correct it. We do have another one that's still in service and in good shape, so we need to get this taken care of. And then one we're working on in addition is improvements to our solids handling and storage. And that's basically the biosolids program where we apply sludge from the wastewater to fields for crops and that kind of thing. Very important for us. So far our PFAS levels have been good, but if we end up in a situation where they are lowered to the point where we can't do solids application, it could be a big deal. So we're hoping that doesn't get that far, but we've been fortunate in that regard. Just quickly, this is the maintenance and service televising truck for inspecting sewer lines for asset management. So that is a truck that we purchased and allows us to inspect the lines. Here's a quick picture of some cleaning and inspection. And what you're seeing on the left is the lining of what North Charles sewer looked like before lining and after. This is a much more cost-effective way to address sewer than digging it up and replacing it. So this is an example of some of the things we're doing out there. So future projects, continued RTB upgrades, wastewater treatment plant, we need some air blowers and rotork operators and things like that, sluice gate upgrades, ongoing collection system improvements, and ongoing cleaning, televising, inspection, and repairs. So it's an ongoing thing, right? We have to keep investing in our system to keep it up, keep it in good shape, and continue to provide you the service you're used to.